All right, maybe we'll just start with tuning into this moment here. So, okay, for everyone that is on, welcome. Thank you for being here. And we will begin today just a quick grounding to bring us into the present moment and set an intention for today and for this call. Whether it's your first time or you've been here for the last 7 years, your presence is truly honored and felt. And so thank you so much for joining us, whether you're joining live or watching the recording of this. Sending so much love to you. And so we'll begin here by inviting stillness into our mind. And we can start by doing just a couple slow, deep breaths and just relaxing your whole body, relaxing your being. You can be eyes closed or eyes opened, just allowing yourself to slow down. We can settle into this moment. There's really nothing truly that needs to be done. That in stillness, things actually get done quicker. So just settle into this present moment. And as it settles, just experience the peace. Experience peace wanting to return to you, wanting to flow over you. And in the busyness of life, we just can be grateful for the moment to pause together. That we intentionally open our hearts to the voice of love within. And we set the intention here today to see through the eyes of Christ. To remember the truth of who we are. Let's settle down for just a small couple moments here as we rest in the stillness. Allowing us to receive peace and knowledge. And just let these words wash over you, wash over your mind. You are completely innocent in the eyes of God. Your true self, the true you, has never been harmed and has never harmed others. And in the depth of your being, you are created as love and you remain as love. You're pure, you're guiltless, you're invulnerable. Let's see if you can just allow your mind to settle and quiet just enough to feel that truth, even if it's for a moment. Even if it's just a moment to remember that you are love. Giving yourself the gift of just this moment of peace. Just experience all tension, all worries, all thoughts melting away. And that it is safe to release this worry, the judgments. You and the world will always remain safe. And then let's just take a breath and let that be the truth of this moment. Let that be the truth of you. And you can open your eyes, rejoin us. We are back. It is Wednesday. Thank God it's Wednesday. Thank God we woke up this morning and all the people that we love are still here. And if they're not, they're really still here too. If we can think of them, they are here. See, that's the funny thing, is we're born into this world immediately being taught of loss and separation and fear. We're taught through suffering, through the projection of suffering from our society. And that love could actually be lost. And in that truth, with a lowercase t for ourselves, that somehow love could be lost, we begin to withhold love. In that truth for us, we are afraid of losing. In that truth for us, we feel guilty for thinking that we could lose love. That somehow I'm being punished. And with that being present in our mind, we can't help but project and turn that onto our brothers and sisters. That if we are being punished, the ego says, well, just like if I gave somebody $5 and I have $5 less, if I gave somebody my guilt and my shame and my judgment, then I must have less of it. But that's not how the law of expansion works. See, God's laws, the expansion of love in the universe and of light, is that light makes everything unlike itself more like itself. It turns everything unlike itself more like itself. And same with love. Love encompasses all things. So that's how expansion happens. So for us, our goal is to practice. What are we expanding or projecting into the world? And it happens not just in the words or our actions. It happens in the way that we perceive and we think about the world. It happens in every day, the way we think about somebody else, the way we access forgiveness rather than guilt and shame. All we need to do is look at our partners, look at the people that are closest to us. Do we feel the need to get something? So, today's talk, we've entered chapter 13, the Guiltless World. And it builds upon the teachings of our previous talks, of chapter 12. We've been exploring in the Course in Miracles, seeing with Christ's vision, which is to see the innocence in all our brothers and sisters, to see innocence and purity in the world. And the way that we see with those lenses is to look within. To see each other and ourselves through the eyes of love and forgiveness rather than judgment. And we spoke of the return to love, our journey back to the awareness of God's presence in everything. And now we're going to dive into the core obstacle of that vision of love. So what is in the way? See, the Course says love is beyond what can be taught, but it does aim at finding all the obstacles and all the barriers that we have built around love. As you identify those things and as you make a conscious decision that they are no longer going to serve you, as you remove those barriers, love automatically flows through. You don't need to work to find love, to see love. Love is a natural flow. We just have to find what's in the way. The river of love is flowing. We just got to find where there's a bottleneck and what's in the way of it, and let's remove that. And then we return to our natural state of love. We don't have to do anything for love. We don't need anything in return for love. We just have to look at where are we withholding. And so in this chapter here, we're going to release guilt and open the way to healing, to awakening, to reclaiming our God selves, to reclaiming our divine invulnerability, which is the chapter today. The section is Guiltlessness and Invulnerability. And so according to A Course in Miracles, guilt is the fundamental belief that something has gone wrong, that we have sinned, that we've fallen from heaven, and thus guilt deserves punishment. It's really a feeling that we've had for a long time, perhaps that we're born with. We're born out of the idea of separation. When man fell from heaven, accepting guilt into your mind, accepting guilt. See, the tiny mad idea the Course says is that somehow we accepted guilt, that we thought that we could be something other than this, and that we accepted that idea. We forgot to laugh at that idea. We took it too seriously. And then the separation was born, the beginning of separation. So that's the fall. Accepting guilt was the beginning of separation. Then accepting its release is the end of separation. And so that's the atonement. The atonement is to remember loved, is to undo separation. And the way we undo separation is we have to make a conscious choice not to value it anymore. We will operate from where we value. So really, if you think about it, our world, we just look at all the things people are talking about in the government. Our entire world is of fear and conflict. And so if we think about every time that we feel guilty, no matter how small that feeling is, we actually feel unsafe. We feel vulnerable. If we feel guilty, we feel that either we have been or we will be attacked. And so we must retaliate or judge in return. Like some part of us expects and even demand punishment for that guilt, for that shame. So the Course puts it really plainly: if you did not feel guilty, you could not attack, for condemnation is the root of attack. Guilt is the belief that somebody deserves punishment. And oftentimes that somebody is just us. We have this like heavy chain of the past that is connected into that we're connected to, and then we project that into the future. We project it into the future by acting upon it and bringing that out and projecting it into others around us. We drag yesterday's mistake into today. We blame them for our pain. We blame others. We blame the world for our loss of peace. We blame anything besides looking within. Right? The ego, back to its core objective, is to create loops, is to seek but not find. So we seek all of our salvation and redemption in things where it does not belong. We try to find it where love does not belong. And so I'm going to just begin by... I already began. I'm going to begin again with a year of miracles from Marianne Williamson. And we'll just flip to something and see what she has for us. Okay. So today I find my calling. Okay. I'll find my calling today, Marianne. A calling is an organic field of energy emerging from the deepest aspect of who I am. It is the fulfillment of what God has created me to be and do. Approaching my work as a job versus approaching it as a calling makes all the difference in whether or not I dwell in the miraculous universe. I have a calling simply because I am alive. I have a calling because I am a child of God. I have a calling because I am on this earth with a divine purpose. To rise to the level of my highest creative possibility, expressing all that I am intellectually, emotionally, psychologically, and physically in order to make the universe a more beautiful place. My calling is what I would do whether I were paid to do it or not. It is what I have to do in order to be happy. My calling connects me to my deepest self and to the rest of my life around me. Today, may I find my calling, if only in my heart. As I hear God's call within me, I answer with all my heart. Our love will resonate throughout the universe and form the calling of my soul on earth. Great power will emanate from this greatest of love, and so it is. Amen. So to sum that up, our entire job, the only thing we have to do on this planet every day, right now, today, tomorrow, is to make the universe a more beautiful place. How simple is that? Notice for yourself if making the world a more beautiful place is to act upon something with judgment, with guilt, with attack and shame. We have to get rid of something. Or is it just in extending beauty from my mind outwards, extending light outwards? See, one of the greatest mistakes we can find in that line right there, make the world a more beautiful place, make the universe a more beautiful place. The ego will say we have to get rid of things to get there. Love will say you have to see love. You have to see the beauty. You have to be the beauty. You be it first. And in that, it will extend. So, people say, "Hey, peace, war is the expense of peace." Right? So, in order to have peace, we must have war first. But all war does is create more war, even in thought. Attack only brings more attack. It does not bring peace. Can we demonstrate peace? That's what the Course is inviting us into. That in order to have more peace, it isn't to attack or make something wrong so that peace may return. You have to be able to see peace in all situations. Okay, so anything that I've shared wanting to be expressed, or anything that is downloaded to you guys wanting to be expressed out onto this call, anything going on in your lives that you want to add into the stew of the remembering on this call here today, feel free to share. If anybody feels compelled to share anything.
I can share.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, everyone. So good to be back. Missed it.
Mm.
One thing that just was coming was when you were talking about judgment and the release of judgment. And one exercise that I've been doing a lot lately is relaxing, which is interesting because you brought the whole thing up with relaxing. Relaxing my focus, relaxing my mental focus. I use the visual field, and so like I won't focus particularly on anything, but just noticing in that moment when I'm in like pure presence. When I do relax, I am fully present because the mind isn't creating a story about what I'm looking at. And in that moment, allowing myself to notice there is no past, there is no future, there's just that, what's in front of me in that moment. And that's been really powerful in interrupting, like, not only just, thought storm, but like that judgment or that that programming of like needing to fix or things should be like that or like this. It's been and it's just been delicious. It's been really nice.
Amazing.
That's it.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, think about this for a second. Like all the things that run through our minds, our eyes and our ears and our senses. Literally, what's in our mind is a recording of what we've seen through our eyes. And it's the way that we perceive something. And our mind kind of records a lot of these things, but they're just like noise. They're really just noise because we're not really sure what we even perceive at any given moment. We just see it. And then as it enters into our mind, we make all the stories up about it. And then it becomes ingrained into this identity of who I am because of what I've seen in my lifetime. But there are so many more things that we have not seen than that we have seen. And it will forever remain that way. But there is an underlying thing underneath all that when you're able to just let all of those things go and say, here, God, Holy Spirit, you take it. It lightens, the weight is lightened, right? You don't have to judge any of those things. You're like, oh man, it's so light. And we just make a conscious choice knowing that we're not even really capable of truly interpreting what it is that we're seeing. But in the release and giving that of what we see over to the Holy Spirit, the only thing left is love. I'm like, oh, that's very natural for us, right? This is why it's called returning or remembering innocence again. Innocence is the untainted version, the uninterpreted version of the world. As we get older, we think we know more. All we're doing is just we're projecting more. And so the journey isn't actually to acquire more information. The journey is actually cleaning out of the garbage. It's like on our computer. The more things, like every time, imagine your, and I'm just going to use this analogy because literally my Chrome window tabs, there's like 35 of them, right? So as you are going on in life, every one of your experience, you open up a new tab, new tab, new tab, new tab, new tab. Before you know it, you have zero idea what you were even looking at before, but it's just all clutter. What's there is confusion. What's there is overwhelm of too much information. What's there is actually now your operating system is exhausted. And in the exhaustion, it retaliates. It shuts down. It withholds love because, oh my God, love is too much. I can't add love to this all the tabs I already have open. But love is literally the closing of all those tabs so that you can feel clear and clean again. That's a fun analogy, just looking at my Windows tab. Maybe I should close all of these. I don't know what the attachment of not closing all of them is. Every time my computer shuts down, I open up. First thing I do is go to history, and I got to open all the tabs back up. This is an amazing metaphor, actually. for exactly what we do. I'm like, oh no, please, history. I need all of my tabs open again. You know, some of these tabs, when I click on it, I'm like, what was I even looking at here? What is this? It's like 2 years ago, I opened up something and it's still sitting there. Some of the pages are actually like, you have been logged out, or the page is no longer here. Like, I have probably tabs that says your page is no longer even here. And I'm like, no, it's got to be opened. Right? I mean, that's how insane we are with our stories too. I need to write this down real quick. 1 second. My analogy. Let's see if I can short symbol or short write a little thing for myself and I remember what that is. Windows tab analogy. I don't think that's going to be enough for me to remember. Hold on. Windows tab analogy. My need to keep them open dash my identity. Okay, great. I think I'll remember that now. Hopefully someday I look back at this sticky note pad. I just have so many of them. They're all over my desk. I think by writing it down, I remember a little more. I just opened up another tab. Okay, I'm opened up another tab and I'm committed that this tab gets to stay. You know, like when we close those tabs, the natural state is to be able to flow and do things on your computer better. All right, that's the natural state. Our natural state is without all those tabs. I am going to attempt, I'm going to think about this, that I am going to close all the tabs today without, you know what? I'm going to do it right now. I'm doing it. Should I do it? Just close out all the tabs. Wait, what's even open? I'm freaking doing it.
Do it, brother. Bring in new moment. Choose it. Choose it.
Do it.
We're with you.
All right, guys. A moment of truth. Wait, let me let Jessica in. It's closed.
Woo-hoo! So great.
And I will not go to history and reopen them. Let me think. Let me see how I feel right now.
Can I share?
I feel about the same. Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
So just about the subject about the windows, right? So I do this, right? I always close my tabs at the end of the day, and usually I'll shut down my computer because it's just better for the computer to like reboot, right? And so when you open up, when you remember the passwords, when you open up the new tab, it refreshes the idea, the memory of the reason why you're going there. Like, just having them open all the time, like you have to go back and of course like click through everything. But if you don't, you don't. Right? So if you actually like are intentional with what you're going to work on for that amount of time, I think there's more space, right? For like actually what you want to do instead of clicking on the wrong tab 500 times to get back to the thing you actually want to work on.
It's true.
Just your friendly IT professional, saying a little something there.
Yeah, and I spend a bunch of time actually clicking through them. Like every day, I'm like, what is this? I click them. Even if they're unopen and important, I'm like, nah, they're good. And then I'll close the ones that are repetitive, like Zoom links. I'm like, that felt good. But I always got to keep some of them. I actually have a really interesting story about this. So those tabs that are open are basically awesome. All right. Who's doing it? Close all tabs. But like this, it's really a great metaphor for how we keep our identity, right? Like, no, that's who I am. And we have the same thing. Like, what tabs do we get to let go of? And the only way to really close them is to give them over to the Holy Spirit for good, right? It's to really have this experience that those tabs hold me back, because it slows me down and holds me back. Because if I don't have a true shift around it, I can go back to history and open them all back up again. But if I give it 5, 6, 7 days, that history is not going to be there anymore. So I have to have this true shift. And same thing here. You have to make a true conscious choice of giving unconditional love and being forgiveness. Right? And how many, the tabs that we have open currently is like, take that and multiply by 1 million. It's probably how many tabs we have open for ourselves since we were born. And so the atonement, what the Course is teaching us, is that you no longer need any of those things. See, what we try to do is we try to close one tab at a time. And the Course tells us you can't keep some of the tabs and close some of them and have a true breakthrough and a true awakening. We're like, no, I want to keep some of this fear. I want to keep some of the illusion. You don't step into truth and you don't step into love unless all the illusions are let go of. It's not a 1 foot in, 1 foot out thing. There is no partial allegiance to God or to the Holy Spirit. That's what the Course is telling us. You need to be 100% committed to your awakening. That means there is no place where you will say, it makes sense for me to withhold my love. You see, that is a big, big task for us. Wait, so I have to be love in all areas? Yes. I can't withhold from anybody? Not even Donald Trump? I love that I bring this up. I can like feel like somebody's neck going, ugh. You mean I can't withhold my love there? No, I'm going to keep that tab open. But I will get rid of all my other tabs. That's what the Course is inviting us to. And I'm very grateful for this analogy of tabs to enter into our sphere here. I feel like it's helping us. It's helping me get this a little bit more. You know, and I want to share an experience with you guys really quick. There's this guy Cam that I met. This guy Cam at an event. And he was telling me he has a process that is more powerful than plant medicines. And if somebody says that to me, and they have experienced a lot of plant medicines, I'm like, okay, I'm interested in what that is. Show me. Right? Because I don't know if there is, for me personally. So, of course, I'm like, I think my wife has more things to work on than I do. So why don't you talk to her? And so Love goes into this session with him. She's probably going to kill me after I say this. But hey, prices that you pay for not being on this call, I guess. So she goes through this session and she has this huge, like she was telling me, she had like this like ugly cry, you know, about something with like her dad and her past and all of that. And it actually triggered the beginning of her not tolerating the laziness of me in the relationship. Like somehow she found this strength in herself and she was like, that's it. Not tolerating anymore. I'm leaving. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? You know, and probably, you know, before, when you have like an awakening like that, the goal is not to just like rip the Band-Aid off, I guess. I don't know what the goal is. But anyways, my point is, I have a point, okay? Not the victim here. The point is, it is a powerful process. And so after like 5 sessions with her, she, you know, she knows how powerful it is. And she's been saying it. I'm like, yeah. And Cam messages me. He goes, hey, you want to do a session? I'm like, what the heck do I have to work on? I've been studying A Course in Miracles for 7 years and done so much work on myself. But I will remain open And so I did. And I went through the whole process and all of this stuff. It was for 2 hours with my eyes closed. The first time I've closed my eyes for 2 hours and not fallen asleep in the first 30 seconds. And the funny thing is, I did it after A Course in Miracles on Sunday, and I forgot to stop the recording or the Facebook Live share. So technically, you could watch that whole process of me going through it on my Facebook from last week. But what it came down to was, I have this huge need to always prove something. Prove myself. And all that I teach in A Course in Miracles is to let go of your identity of who you are. This identity of who you are is an idea to be let go of. That is our salvation. That is our redemption. And I say it over and over. Who's this Alex? And the attachment to the identity, which attaches to the amount of money that we have and our worthiness and all the stuff, all the stories of Alex. And the first thing I uncovered is that my mom always bugs me about money and my recklessness around money, and that I'm always investing and I go all in on everything. And she's always saying, oh, why don't you just keep the money in your bank? Why do you have to go and invest all the time and do all these things? And perhaps from that, what I uncovered there was that I needed to prove that I can always get out of crazy situations. So I put myself in crazy situations constantly, which was interesting to uncover for me. And what I also uncovered in there is that my faith and my practice in the Course of Miracles is actually so strong that all of my past images and traumas have A Course in Miracles wrapped around it that healed it. I have no real emotional things to it, even when my dad passed away. It's a very powerful process. And what I realized was everything that I'm doing in my life, I'm always proving something, right? Implying that there is a lack of worth somewhere. And probably the reason why I teach A Course in Miracles and I study so much of it is that is the thing that I need to hear the most. Constantly. Right? I'm just sharing my journey of awakening. And the funny thing is, I was recently, a couple days before that, I went to Newport Beach to refinance $24 million in loans with this big fund. And I went there and they approved my loans, okay, which is interesting because nobody else has. Or nobody has given us the money that we need for that. So right now we got the term sheets and all that. It was a great blessing. But when I got there, I also looked around to see what other products they got. They got this insane flip product for fix and flippers. They bring 95% debt for you. That means if you bought $1 million property and you were flipping it, you only had to bring $50,000 to the table versus your typical other loans out there are 85%. You got to bring $150,000 to the table. It's a huge difference. The returns are huge when you consider what that really is to bring $150,000 into something versus 50. So anyways, I was like, wow, that's a really cool product. And, the loan officer there was telling me everyone that sees and hears about it, they switch from their old loan, basically loan where they get their loan from, and they come over here because it allows them to scale. It allows them to come up with less money to be able to take down a real estate deal. So for me, and if that doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't matter. The story is it's a great product. It's one of a kind. And they're like, you're from Vegas and we want to open an office in Vegas. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, why don't you open the office for us there? I'm like, what does that look like? It's like, we'll give you this. Just a really ridiculous offer. Okay. It's a really ridiculous offer. And my entire resistance is that I have been somebody that has constantly said to get out of W-2s, that Alex has never had a W-2. I'm so proud of that. I'm a self-made entrepreneur. I don't have W-2s. I won't do any W-2s. People will pay me ridiculous amount, have to pay me ridiculous, probably not even ever be able to get me to work for someone. So in that session, I realized this resistance to that actually holds me back, right? The opportunity of a lifetime just thrown itself onto me. And so I actually was able to release a story. And I thought I was really good at releasing stories. I thought I was good. I thought I was, I had it figured out. So it was a great humbling moment for me, great awareness. And immediately I said yes to it. And now I'm being onboarded today. And I'm opening an office for this $200 billion fund in Las Vegas. Kind of cool. Yeah, and for those of you guys that follow my journey, 2024 was not friendly to real estate, especially in the commercial side. I've sold multiple houses just to cover shortfalls of mortgage. All the deals that I'm invested in with other people have all been doing capital calls, and I have to inject another 20 to 25% of my investment in there to save my investment. And it's just, money drained pretty fast in 2024 for me. And I put myself, and it probably contributed to the lack of security that Love felt, and and all of that. But all through it, I never actually wavered. My faith was still always so strong. In moments of taking a $350,000 loss, my faith still was really strong because of the constant practice and the Course of Miracles and these calls that we're on. Like I would be stressed, and then I come to these calls and I would feel really good afterwards. And so, it's always a choice in how we want to see the situation. Do I trust in God or do I not? That was always a question that constantly came back to me. So that session really actually, I had many images of this kind of like DNA or this like vine that wrapped around all my stories, and it was like a light. And my faith is really, really strong. I also realized that too. Almost in no situations do I feel like an emotional charge too. And he tried to find it. And I tried to find it. So it was really cool to have that awareness. If anybody wants Cam's information, I can share that with you as well. He's definitely figured something out that is really, really powerful. Anyways, that's my story of this identity that I've been holding on to that I realized I have been, and it's been holding me back. Okay, thoughts before we begin our read? Anyone feel the desire or wanting to share anything to add to this soup?
I love that you said that you're trying to lose your identity of going back to a W-2, because I'm struggling with that same situation right now. Because since moving to Texas, it's just been a financial blow after blow. I've lost 3 flows of income. And I'm always so proud of, man, I've been a full-time entrepreneur for going on, 20 months, I love. And now I'm trying to, like, what? I created passive income to do work that I enjoy. So I've been looking at health and fitness roles and government roles. Because change in this world starts at the local level. And so it's been something that I've been fighting against. I'm like, what? As long as it's not corporate sales, what I've been doing for over 22 years in corporate sales, marketing, negotiations, then I'm willing to take a W-2 or a 1099 and pivot and put those and go for acquisitions. It's only me and like 3 other people. Funny, they're all women. And then put 80% of my profits into triple net and only 20 multifamily, because coming from an operations perspective, it's been a mess lately and I don't thoroughly enjoy it, but I think it's because of some of the partners I have. And so now I'm pivoting wanting to supplement my income, and the flipping process takes way too long. We have 3 flips happening at the same time. I kind of got one foot out the door on that because I don't like it, and I'm like, man, do I really want to go back to the W-2 after I've been boasting so long for the last 2 years? Yay, I left corporate sales, a 6-figure job,
Oh
after 26
man.
months of real estate, and I'm having to pivot, and I'm like grudgingly, but I have to change my mindset, right, and say, just choose work that I enjoy and that I love. Don't go back to what I hate, which is corporate sales. So I appreciate that, because I've kind of felt alone in this journey, this shit show that I'm dealing with right now, going back and forth in my mind.
You know, it's
So thank
interesting.
you.
Yeah, it's interesting because I am sure a ton of people in our world, Brooke, and we know lots of people in our world, are experiencing the same thing. There is no way anybody is actually making money in the last 2 years in the commercial real estate space. We are literally just working our asses off for free.
Free. It's bullshit.
So
And
how-
one thing that scarred me, I'm sorry to interrupt
No,
you,
it's
was
good.
that I had to at a dinner at a Cardone event a few
Tell
years
us.
ago, and this is still stuck in my head, and this was a guy who's further along in the space who told us at the dinner, do not invest with somebody that's not a full-time operator. And now I look back at that and I'm like, mofo, some of the full-time operators right now have W-2s and 1099s, and some of you full-time operators suck and are doing a shitty ass job.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm trying to like, why am I letting this guy's voice in my head trigger me? I think because that's my full-time thing, is being an operator, doing all these things and investing and flipping and all of this shit. And I hear that and I'm like, man, are people not going to trust me to execute and deliver if I have a W-2? But I look back, I'm like, dude, my biggest success is when I had a 6-figure job and all the commissions were going into investments and masterminds, right? And I just now look back at some of these operators that pop off like that. I'm like, you know what? And I look at some of the smaller boutique operators, they have more success right now.
Uh-huh.
Y'all don't know what the hell you're doing, and you made some piss poor decisions as well, because y'all collected your acquisition and management fees at the close, and now you're acquiring left or right instead of stabilizing some of these assets for our money, so you can miss me with all that. So I love this call because I'm in that pivotal.
Love it, Brooke. Tell us how you really feel. We should start a podcast, right?
You've been saying that, and then I stalk you, and then I get busy, and I'm like, Alex, what's happening? We talked about podcasts and like couples podcasts and different.
I know.
I know, and I think you and I, we have so many things that we want to do and do together, and it's just shit happens, and then I'm like, okay, Alex, you want to do this? You're like, yeah, but you want to do? It's like we're both wanting the other person to just execute, and we'll follow along.
Listen, people in my world know very, very well that I am not the executor and that I am grand vision, and I have to, and that's where I sit. And I'm like,
For me, I do both, but I feel because I have to lead execution on the other projects I'm in, that sometimes I'm like, shit, man, can somebody else lead? And that's the same conversation I have with my husband. Like when I get home, like, babe, I don't want to figure out what's, can you lead here? Just because I lead in the business, I don't want to come here and do all this shit too.
oh man,
But
Brooke, I love
I
it.
needed a couple hands up.
Thank you for the excitement, the passion behind what you're just sharing right there. Because look, that is true, right? And you know, for me, I've never worked a W-2 in my life. Never. Not even sure what that's gonna look like. But I don't. You know, I get it's a super ridiculous offer, so I don't even to not take it as stupid. Plus the size of my community already, and how many people I know that flip, and all the different loan packages that they have. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll do it. So, anyways, yeah, thanks, Brooke. That was great. See, we are never alone in how we feel and what we experienced. And this is why to create safe space is actually to share about it. And then everyone else like, yeah. And then think about the truths with the lowercase t, okay, that we took on from what other people said, that basically regurgitate what they heard and they heard and they heard. And now that was a truth, but that's not truth. Because now we're like, yeah, that was dumb. I should have never listened to that, right? And probably everyone drank the Grant Cardone Kool-Aid, was like, no, don't, invest in little real estate deals yourself. Just do something humongous. Go beyond what you can even handle. Now, I think there is some truth in that, of course, but does it fit every single shoe or how does this analogy go? Does the pants fit everyone? No, never mind. Okay, you guys get what I'm saying. It's not one size fits all, right? And so that means it's not really the truth. And if we can see it all without that level of judgment, and what we do in that scenario is exactly how we're born into this earth, and people project their scarcity and their fears and their suffering and their losses onto us, and then we just go and speak it like it's the truth. And we're like, this is who I am, and that's what my truth is. And then later to find out, I don't know if that's my truth. And we're afraid to shift off of that because we've held this truth for so long and we've publicly declared it. I've publicly declared it so many times. So for me to make this step is A Course in Miracles working. So where in our lives can we say, screw the story that I got about myself, and I can be loving today. I can hate Donald Trump yesterday, and today I'm going to say I freaking love him. No? Okay. Too far? All right. Josie, go ahead.
Oh my God. Okay, so Brooke, I'm just gonna tell you this. You just lit me up, and because
That's for you, Josie.
thank you, Boo. So man, Alex, every time I jump on these calls, it's like a message that is just perfectly designed, and I always appreciate you for that and creating this space. Man, it is, for those of you who do know me, know I've been on a lifelong journey of self-worth and being enough, and just believing in myself. And 2024, man, that was like crash course, master class. Like, man, talk about being challenged, talk about being really put to the fire, talk about a roller coaster, talk about insecurity, like not insecurity for me for once in this life, right? It was like just circumstantial insecurity. And I was like, wow, and I know my buddies here on the line, so I know that for those of you who know me, know that I could fall into victim mode real quick. That was like my go-to. Like, my triggers were so on the surface. They were like, boom, man, I was eating them every day. And this year, I'm so grateful for the challenge that 2024 was, and moving into 2025, like all the opportunities that I've received. And you talk about, like, I had a restaurant for 10 years, and right now I'm in a process of my new job. Yeah, I just said that. So like W-2, right? And I am in in the middle of like being flown to start my training, and I'm in this, the job is a dream job. Like, if I had to work in anything, this is a job where I am, as a chef, task force team. Like, I'm a special unit in a restaurant group that gets sent to cities to help them open up new projects. And we have 8 slated for this year, so I'm going to be very busy. And my first 2 missions are right now in Raleigh and Providence, Rhode Island. I think it's cold in both places at the moment. I'm not sure. But if that's my only complaint about this job also allows me to step into a soldier role as opposed to the general who I've been all these years. And it allows me to be the student of a larger organization, which is, probably a big reason why my little restaurant we had a successful run, but we never were able to scale. And so this opportunity is taking me to a place where I'm able to learn from the best. I declared that in 2025 I was going to earn a Michelin star. Well, interestingly enough, this restaurant group has multiple Michelin stars. So I'm like by default, by association, I already have my Michelin star. So I am really, really excited to be in the company of such, seasoned, experienced, and just badass chefs. And I get to be in this. This is what I wanted, is to work with other like-minded individuals around food who are as passionate about it as I am. And I have this other project. So in between, on the path to this job, I launched a new project, and I was like, yeah, and that is slow moving, because like anything that you got going on and new as an entrepreneur, man, what a roller coaster ride it is to get your visions up off the ground, and build that foundation and get it going. And I trusted that this was my path. But then when this opportunity came through, I recognized that, like, when I go back to my gratitude days, it's like, oh, what the fuck, do whatever it takes. Oh, what the fuck, do whatever it takes. And I'm doing everything it takes, like everything and then some. And in this process, it's like my spirituality, my reconnection to my spirit and my purpose and my vision in this life has been like the biggest guiding light through it all. And it's so interesting how the work that I've done in Egypt and I continue to do here now back in the States, it's helping me. It has really supported me in navigating through these final loose ends, these final challenges. And every time I think that, like, okay, finally, yes, then some other huge challenge comes, and it makes it like, oh my God, it's like really, really, you said something like, oh, the devil tried, and I tried. And trust me, I feel that resonates so deeply with me, because I know, it's like, I know that honestly, the energies that be want me to go back into this space of like scarcity, but I refuse to do that. I refuse to go there. And I'm stepping into this newest challenge with so much just trust, surrender, positivity, and not just in myself, but in the fact that, like, I'm guided by God, and I'm protected by God. And all right, we could get real deep in that, but I'm gonna just go there. But the awareness of when these moments come up inside of me that want me to revert back to those moments when I was scared, when I was ashamed, when I was guilty, when I was, and those things, and projecting that out into my life or into my space, onto my, onto the people around me, da 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 da, you name it. I'm able to like tap in, and those are the moments I take my deepest breaths, and I just drop back down into trust and surrender, and having faith in God and faith in my mission here on this planet, because I know that I'm chosen to do the good work, the big work. They say that God never gives you challenges you can't handle. And it hasn't been for a very long time that I've ever really even believed that. And now I do. And I believe that I'm on track. I believe that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I am just extremely grateful for the awareness, for the shift, for the practices, and for the ability to release and let go. So thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you for sharing that. I love it. Love it. Love it. Um, yeah, I mean, we are all on a journey. And so it's great that we can be here to support each other and to use our journey to inspire others to make choices and decisions, right? So that's cool. And then the last thing I want to share about that is, we read in the beginning, like, may I hear and find my calling, right? Your calling can be in anything. It's what you bring to the table, whether it's W-2 or an entrepreneurship or whatever. And I love that you said, I get to be a soldier again. And you called your new job like like your special ops, it's pretty awesome. Okay, we're gonna go to Claudia, and then we're gonna read this chapter or read this section.
Let me lower my hand. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm just listening and being so present of all of you, even though I'm here at work, sneaking in my moments. This is so important for me to be here every Wednesday. Anyways, it's like the middle of the week, filling my cup. So what I get to say is like listening the big visions of the big real estate investments and the beautiful work that you all guys doing in the world out there. And that's been a very awakening and awareness for me as well as, know that I haven't had the dreams to impact bigger volume of people, but it has been a pleasure of mine to stay in the low key and be more personal and intimate with the work that I do, right? Many times I've been questioned and even I felt judged because I never went back to get my dental license in the United States. And because of it, I have been, always like I had a confusion and doubt about like my personal purpose of being in the dental field, right? On the health field. So saying that, I had a lot of nurses and the health space that will ask me, it's like, I want to get out of the system. I'm so tired of the system. And I say, and how we're supposed to awaken the other ones that are still sleeping if we don't stay in these spaces. So that's has been one of my biggest one. I only worked for corporate America in 2018, 19 to 20, when I worked for a big like IV company where we were just given supplementation and vitamins and learn about HRT and other stuff. But saying that, it was brutal. Like the way the treatment is brutal in those spaces. I always work for mom and pop's business, and I have my own business for 7 years, and back in 2013 to 2020. So saying this, I'm still doing my entrepreneurial side, and I keep getting my W-2 form. Why? Because somehow I get to help and support more being in the two worlds, right? So being in the two worlds is being a very awakening and accepting where the people in the one space are and then how I am in the other space as well. So to be very present to like what I can choose for myself and why I'm no longer want to desire or bring from the other parts. So saying this is being very present to me that staying in contact with the small groups when I create more intimacy and to know exactly more like one to one, not one to one in the space of like, oh, I don't do well only one on one because it's a slow movement, but more like 3 to 10 people, maybe 20, impacting those group of people, right? And this is why I've been creating with the empowering of women every month on me and my spaces. And then what I impact sometimes when I do my workshops and talk about the dental process and collaborating with others that can be in the same space about aligning your body, aligning your emotions, and all that stuff. So I just wanted to share that because it's very beautiful, like the enthusiastic personality of Brooke or you, Alex, with all the big things that you always have in your visions and in producing these big masses of products or services. I love it. I love it. And I do the same thing in like in a smaller scale. And no, because I haven't dreamed big, I have. It's just like I take it a little and more calmness way for me because it helps me to keep more my nerve system in check. That is so important as well to give the love, the self love, and that space. So saying this, I want to share something that is very present. So tomorrow, I go to my last hearing in court for the dissolution of my last partnership, and I'm graduating from that space, and I'm very grateful. And whatever karma or lessons that I had to learn there, so I'm just wanna say it in here that it was bittersweet to go to that process. It's been over a year because some of the things it created other consequences in my family, especially around my daughter. But I'm grateful because it's bigger lessons that I never thought that was there present for me. So I just wanted to share that I'm a little vulnerable and sensitive because of the process of that grieving and what I thought it could be, and it never was. So that's it. So
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And here's the thing. For all of us, redemption is literally right there. No matter how far we've gone down the road, redemption is right there. Meaning, I've gone down the road of not being W2 and I've had this identity. Your redemption of remembering who you are is literally right in front of you. We just have to have the courage to first take that step and to be able to look at it. Like the courage to look at it, and two, to recognize the opportunity of the shift, right? That awakening is right there. I've been asleep the whole time thinking this is who I am. And to be able to take that leap, it's freeing. And in that, we recognize the world is actually not unsafe. As to share this, everyone is here to support me. Everyone's championing me when I thought that it was dangerous to go back and say I'm not what I said I was. And that I'm choosing something different. And that's redemption, to realize that the world is actually safe. That God is actually not here to punish us. And that love is available at all times. Okay. Wow. This was really a very powerful call. And I'm just going to read real quick. I definitely want to get this. We're entering chapter 13. So new chapter, obviously new energy that was brought to the space. Yes, 11:11, boom. Thank you, Michelle, for always recognizing divine timing and the divinity in the world. You're always sharing with me 11:11 and your event is 369, the 9 portal. I'm like, oh my God, crazy. So thank you for always reminding us that. All right, chapter 13. Let's just breathe out all this excitement and all this awakening and the fun that we just had here and the courage for each one of us to actually share and the spaces that we held for each other. Just good job, everybody. Good job. Well done. Well done. I'm pretty sure this is how we make the world and the universe a more beautiful place. Exactly what we just did right there. So now we have evidence. Hang on to it. Anchor it. We are witnesses. And now, new moment, new awareness, new possibility, new downloads. Chapter 13, The Guiltless World. Introduction. If you did not feel guilty, you could not attack, for condemnation is the root of attack. It is the judgment of one mind by another as unworthy of love and deserving of punishment. But herein lies the split. For the mind that judges perceives itself as separate from the mind being judged, believing that by punishing another, it will escape punishment. All this is the delusion. All this is the delusional attempt of the mind to deny itself and escape the penalty of denial. It is not an attempt to relinquish denial, but to hold on to it. For it is guilt that has obscured the Father to you, and it is guilt that has driven you insane. The acceptance of guilt into the mind of God's Son was the beginning of separation, as the acceptance of the atonement is the end. The world you see is the delusional system of those made by guilt. Look carefully at this world, and you will realize that this is so. For this world is the symbol of punishment, and all the laws that have seemed to govern it are laws of death. Children are born into it through pain and in pain. Their growth is attended by suffering, and they learn of sorrow and separation and death. Their minds seem to be trapped in their brain, and its powers to decline, if their bodies are hurt. They seem to love, yet they desert and are deserted. They appear to lose what they love, perhaps the most insane belief of all. And their bodies wither and gasp and are laid in the ground and are no more. Not one of them but has thought that God is cruel. If this was the real world, God would be cruel, for no father could subject his children to this as the price of salvation and be loving. Love does not kill to save. If it did, attack would be salvation, and this is the ego's interpretation, not God's. Only the world of guilt could demand this, for only the guilty could conceive of it. Adam's sin could have touched no one had he not believed it was his father who drove him out of paradise. For in that belief, the knowledge of the Father was lost, since only those who do not understand him could believe it. This world is a picture of the crucifixion of God's Son, and until you realize that God's Son cannot be crucified, this is the world you will see. Yet you will not realize this until you accept the eternal fact that God's Son is not guilty. He deserves only love because he has only given. He has given only love. He cannot be condemned because he has never condemned. The atonement is the final lesson he needs to learn, for it teaches him that, never having sinned, he has no need of salvation. So the atonement is the final lesson that each of us needs to learn, is that we were never guilty and we never sinned at all, and there is no need for salvation. And just as in us, it's in our brothers. In order to see it in us, we have to see it in others as well. So now section 1, the guiltlessness and the invulnerability. Earlier, I said that the Holy Spirit shares the goal of all good teachers, whose ultimate aim is to make themselves unnecessary by teaching their pupil everything they know. So the purpose of a teacher, the purpose of a guru, the purpose of a mentor is the ultimate aim is to make ourselves unnecessary. Make themselves unnecessary by teaching their pupils everything they know. The Holy Spirit wants only this. For sharing the Father's love for his Son, he seeks to remove all guilt from his mind that they may remember his Father in peace. Peace and guilt are antithetical, and the Father are opposites. Guilt and peace are opposites. And the Father can be remembered only in peace. Love and guilt cannot coexist, and to accept one is to deny the other. Guilt hides Christ from your sight, and for it is the denial of the blamelessness of God's Son. In the strange world that you have made, the Son of God has sinned. How could you see him then? By making him invisible, the world of retribution rose in the black cloud of guilt that you accept it and you hold it dear. For the blamelessness of Christ is the proof that the ego never was and can never be. Without guilt, the ego has no life, and God's Son is without guilt. As you look upon yourself and judge what you do honestly, you may be tempted to wonder how you can be guiltless. Yet consider this: you are not guiltless in time, but in eternity. You have sinned, quote unquote, in the past, but there is no past. Always has no direction. Time seems to go in one direction, but when you reach its end, it will roll up like a long carpet spread along the past behind you and will disappear. As long as you believe the Son of God is guilty, you will walk along this carpet believing that it leads to death. The journey will seem long and cruel and senseless, for so it is. So think about our lives. Think about time. We are guilty in time, but not in eternity. Eternity is without a past and a future. The journey of the Son of God has set himself as useless indeed. So our journey that we've set for ourselves is useless. But the journey on which the Father set him is one of release and joy. The Father is not cruel, and his Son cannot hurt himself. The retaliation that he fears and that he sees will never touch him, for although he believes in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit knows it is not true. The Holy Spirit stands at the end of time where you must be because he is with you. He has already undone everything unworthy of, for such was his mission, given him by God. And what God gives has always been. You will see me as you learn the Son of God is guiltless. He has always sought his guiltlessness, and he has found it. For everyone is seeking to escape from the prison he has made, and the way to find release is not denied him. Being in him, he has found it. When he finds it is only a matter of time, and time is but an illusion. Interesting. For the Son of God is guiltless now, and the brightness of his purity shines untouched forever in God's mind. God's Son will always be as he was created. Deny your world and judge him not, for his eternal guiltlessness is in the mind of his Father and protects him forever. When you have accepted the atonement for yourself, you will realize there is no guilt in God's Son. And only as you look upon him as guiltless can you understand his oneness. For the idea of guilt brings a belief in condemnation by one by another, projecting separation in place of unity. You can condemn only yourself, and by doing so, you cannot know that you are God's Son. You have denied the condition of his being, which is his perfect blamelessness. Out of love he was created, and in love he abides. Goodness and mercy have always followed him, and he has always extended the love of his Father. As you perceive the holy companion who travel with you, you will realize that there is no journey, but only an awakening. The Son of God who sleepeth not has kept faith with his Father for you. There is no road to travel on, and no time to travel through. For God waits not for his Son in time, being forever unwilling to be without him. And so it has always been. Let the holiness of God's Son shine away the cloud of guilt that darkens your mind, and by accepting his purity as yours, learn of him that it is yours. You are invulnerable because you are guiltless. You can hold on to the past only through guilt. For guilt establishes that you will be punished for what you have done, and thus depends on one-dimensional time proceeding from past to future. No one who believes this can understand that what always means, and therefore guilt must deprive you of the appreciation of eternity. You are immortal because you are eternal, and always, quote unquote, must be now. Guilt, then, is a way of holding past and future in your mind to ensure the ego's continuity. For if what has been will be punished, the ego's continuity is guaranteed. Yet the guarantee of of your continuity is God's, not of the ego's. The immortality is the opposite of time, for time passes away while immortality is constant. Accepting the atonement teaches you what immortality is. For by accepting your guiltlessness, you learn that the past has never been and the future is needless and will not be. The future in time is always associated with your expediation. Only guilt could induce a sense of need for expediation. Accepting the guiltlessness of the Son of God is yours is therefore God's way of reminding you of his Son and what he is in truth. For God has never condemned his Son, and being guiltless, he is eternal. You cannot dispel guilt by making it real and then atoning for it. This is the ego's plan, which it offers instead of dispelling it. So you do not dispel guilt by making it real first and then atoning for it and then accepting it and then apologizing or whatever for it. That's the ego's plan, which means even if you were apologizing or making right of something, you actually just make that thing more real, right? The only way to do it is in releasing and giving that up. The ego believes in atonement through attack, being fully committed to the insane notion that attack is salvation. And you who cherish guilt must also believe it. For how else, but by identifying with the ego, would you hold dear to what you do not want? The ego teaches you to attack yourself because you are guilty, and thus must increase the guilt. For guilt is the result of attack. In the ego's teaching, then, there is no escape from guilt. For attack makes guilt real, and if it is real, there is no way to overcome it. The Holy Spirit dispels it simply through the calm recognition that it never has been. It has never been. As he looks upon the guiltless Son of God, he knows that this is true. And being true for you, you cannot attack yourself. For while guilt attack is impossible, you then are saved because God's Son is guiltless. And being wholly pure, you are invulnerable. So, the guiltless world. Guiltless and invulnerability. The only way to dispel all of our guilt is to recognize that it never was. That it was never there. It never was. And that is how you dispel it. It's not to attack it. It's not to shame it. It's not to create more guilt, because guilt is the result of attack. So think about any time if you want to get rid of guilt, you must recognize where it is that you are warring and where it is that you are attacking and judging. And even in being defensive, that's the best place for me to learn attack. Where do I feel the need to be defensive? The moment I am defensive, I have perceived attack. That means I have brought attack to the center of my mind and it has become real. So that is chapter 13. Oh man, we went through a really big journey here on this call here today. It's actually kind of hard for me to recall everything. I think a lot happened, but yeah, that is it. We got 3 minutes left. Anybody feel like sharing anything before we wrap it up here?
Question, Alex.
Yes.
In this case, atonement has the same meaning of the whole person mirror.
The atonement is the undoing of something. The moment that we have undone something, right? So my atonement, the atonement for me in today's call was when I shared that I went from this identity, I undid an identity of Alex. That I never will do W2. I've never had a W2, and this is me, and I am gonna stay by that. No matter how much suffering I have to go through, I need to be right about it. And so the atonement was the undoing of all that story. First, to recognize it is safe to share it. It is safe to choose it. That we can give all that story up to the Holy Spirit. So in that moment, the atonement was there. That is our salvation. Our salvation is in the atonement, which literally is the undoing of something. The undoing of the ego. The closing of the tab in each one of those things. Those are moments of miracle. Those are the atonement moments. Claudia. Yay.
Hello.
Hello.
Alex. Hello, everyone. Amazing call. I just wanted to add that from, Chris, one of his ACIM calls, I learned, he shared that atonement is at one-ment with God.
At one-ment with God.
At one-ment with God. It's like, right, that release of the identities, the fears, all that ego, and then just becoming one with God. So I just wanted to add that. Yeah.
True that. Yeah, so Chris was the one that brought me into A Course in Miracles and taught me A Course in Miracles from the start. And so, yes, he also teaches A Course in Miracles. And he speaks at the Unity Church, and it's amazing. And I was sharing with Love this week after I went through the CAMS process and of the healing that we've done. And she was like, I think you, Chris, and Michael are just one of a kind. That's it. That can go through all of your past traumas and all of that with zero emotional energy attached to it. So, you know what? I'm going to message them and just appreciate that they are my big brothers. Thank you. We have now concluded Wednesday Morning Miracle, and for sure that was definitely miracle moments. Thank you guys for being here. Chris DeSanti, D-E-S Santi, A-N-T-I. He wrote a book called Ancient Wisdom for the Modern Seeker, I believe. Look him up. Christopher DeSanti. He's a personal development trainer as well. Big brother. All right, guys. That's it. That's all, folks. Love you guys. See you soon.